Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
I'm Egbert, the owner of this station. Check out my website at egbert.com. That's E-G-G-B-U-R-T, egbert.com. Now it's back to Brad and John. Check out their website at bjshow.co. The BJ Show? Come on, guys. Anyway, here's B and J.
You know what it's time for, John?
What is it time for, Brad?
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
Oh, I want to hear it.
Brad's Top 3.
Does it have to do with guide wires?
We'll talk about that later. And it's not guide wires, it's G-U-Y.
Oh,
guy
yeah,
wires.
I said it right the first time.
Okay. Number 3. There was a guy I watched a video on over the weekend who was an electrical engineer, and the guy is essentially reinforcing everything I was saying about the trucking industry. And he talked about the fact that if you put in a truck stop, let's say in the middle of, let's say if you drive back and forth between St. Louis and if you go to Jefferson City, there's those couple big, they used to be, that one place used to be the truck stop. Now it's not a truck stop anymore, but there's a big truck stop across the street right there at 54 and 70. You know exactly where I'm talking about, right? Because you go to Jefferson City all the time.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I know. I was just it was at that exact location when I went there 2 weeks ago. Yep.
Right. He talked about the fact that the power that required, and we're talking about like megawatts, the power it would require to charge all the trucks that would essentially be fueled at that station during the day would be more than the power that the plant that manufactured the trucks would take by a factor of 3. So in other words, if he's saying this big monstrous plant, PACCAR or whatever the company is that makes those big trucks.
Yeah, PACCAR's awesome.
Right. If they were to, let's say he said the PACCAR plant, hold on a minute. These numbers are all relative because I can't remember the exact numbers he said. But he said, like, if the PACCAR plant took 2 megawatts to run it on a daily basis to produce trucks, it would take 6 megawatts of power to essentially retrofit a truck stop. And that's just one truck stop. And guess what? It's not available. He talked about that there are cities already having this problem where the aldermen and things like that saying, "Oh, let's go all green. Let's convert our buses to battery power, and we'll convert all our trucks to battery power." And then they find out that in order to retrofit their city garage, that they have to, that they call up whoever the power company is, like let's say it's Ameren UNR in area, Ameren say, "Hey, guess what? Can't give you that amount of power. It's not available." So anyway, it's pretty interesting because he sort of destroys the whole thing. And once again, I'm the guy that has always been fascinated by electric cars. And if you go back in history, some of the first cars manufactured that were successful were back in the early 1900s were electric. But the problem was that what came along was the fact that when you had, Henry Ford, coming up with his engines that he designed and things like that, they became much more efficient than electricity. And that's still essentially the way it is today, but that's another story. Okay,
but hold on, real quick, Brad. Like, again, this goes to the fact of, but if what you're saying doesn't make sense only if you think money is real. So if I'm one of these companies, I say again, Brad, how can you put a price on saving the earth and preventing climate change and being carbon neutral and doing what's right? We have the money, Brad. We can print the money. It's just like reparations. It's just like anything else. I'm going to pull a Brad Hildebrand on you. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Last night I was driving, and you know how I am. I'm pushing buttons when I'm driving. And I turn on 97.1, and I hear Dana Lash. And she was talking about some kind of a program that was going on in California. You probably know about this, like a proposed light rail thing that was part of the 2008 federal budget, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's some kind of like $100 billion boondoggle. But they being the administrations, Democratic administrations, just keep finding money for this because, Brad, how could you put a price on doing what's right for the earth? So I would apply that to who cares if the truck stop math doesn't work? If you spend enough money, you can make it work, Brad.
Well, John, the problem with that is, and I will shoot a hole right through your argument because of the fact that you can have all the money in the world. You could have all the billionaires of the world unite and come to Missouri and say, hey, we want to put in 10 new power plants in Missouri. And guess what? They would never happen. Financially, they got the money, but it would be beat to death by the environmentalists. Oh, we can't have that. It's going to kill.
We can't have more power plants.
We can't. It's going to kill the spotted tadpole, or whatever the deal is. And once again, the problem that I've got when we were doing the show on 107.1. Caleb Hunter, who runs Extreme Electrical, he's already talking about right this very minute there are areas in the St. Louis metro area where if you want to upgrade your electrical service, you can't because there's not enough capacity. And especially you go in some of these older areas that were built up like South City, and some of the inner ring munis like the Richmond Heights, the Claytons and things like that, which were built back in the day when, if you had a big electrical panel in your house, you had a 60 amp panel. Now everybody's putting in, 200 amp panels, and most of the people use gas stoves and gas water heaters and gas furnaces. And now, we can't have gas. That's polluting. We have to have electric. It's just not there. So, I hear what you're saying.
Just double the size of that solar panel farm out in O'Fallon, Brad. Why don't we just double the size of that, and that could power most of America for years?
Did I tell you about that I went to the Business Expo earlier this month, and there was a guy then for Ameren, and
you didn't tell us that.
And they were showing off their electric truck. I don't know if you've seen this or not.
Was it powered by diesel?
No, it's not. It's not like the fire pumpers that they claim are electric, but yes, they have a diesel engine which runs the pump for the hoses. And it's the new generation of Chevy trucks. It's completely redesigned. It's a complete new platform, and it's all electric. And he's promoting that. And I said to him, I go, hey, are you guys going to take this out and plug this into your solar field out there in O'Fallon? Oh, and
I bet he loved that.
No, and he's going, well, that produces quite a bit of power. And I go, okay, how many houses does that solar panel out there, that solar field out there in O'Fallon, power? And he wouldn't say, because of the fact that he doesn't want to admit it powers, Jimmy's house, Bill's house, and Bill's doghouse. That's pretty much what it powers. Okay, you ready for number two?
Go ahead.
Ready for number two? Okay. What's my number two? Howard Stern and guess who? Who would you think would be polar opposites in the world who have kissed and made up?
Rosie O'Donnell.
Howard Stern and Kathie Lee Gifford.
Oh, wow. Boy, talk about a long-running feud. Now, what brought them together, Brad?
Well, if you know the story behind this, Kathie Lee Gifford says Howard Stern asked for forgiveness after feud. Quote, God can touch anybody's heart. Now, I have to be honest with you. I read this article and I thought to myself, you know what? I've been really, really sort of nasty to I've said some things that are, maybe not the best for Tracy Ellis, okay? And what I need to do is, I just need, and this is what Kathie Lee Gifford points out. She said, instead of getting mad at people, just pray for them. So I need to pray for Rick and Tracy Ellis. I really do.
And pray harder. I don't think the problem is that you're not praying, Brad. I think it's that you're not praying hard enough.
If you know the crazy story behind this is this feud started in 1995 when her husband, who was the former NFL star, who was the one of the commentators, I think he was working for CBS at the time, during the Super Bowl, whatever Super Bowl in 95, whatever Roman numeral that was, and he was doing the color commentary, and she was the person who was going to sing the national anthem, because Kathie Lee Gifford, she's got a beautiful voice. She's an incredibly talented vocalist, okay? And Howard Stern got on his station, on his group of radio stations. I guess 95 he was still back on regular radio. So he got on his show and essentially said, if you're going to the Super Bowl, when Kathie Lee starts to sing, when they introduce her to the Star Spangled Banner, boo her. So when and now for the national anthem, it's Kathie Lee Gifford, and the boos rained out over the stadium, okay? And she said that personally hurt her, and she found out that was because of Howard Stern. Now, she has always, and it's an interesting article. I read this article and talks about that one day when Howard Stern showed up at the Today Show, and she wasn't doing that segment. She was still in the makeup room, and someone came in and said, "Hey, Kathie Lee, your arch enemy, Howard Stern, is here." So she wasn't even done with makeup. She threw on her flats. That's the story is interesting. She, of course,
yikes. She wears flats.
Right. She puts on her flats, and she runs down to the studio, and she goes and she greets Howard Stern and says, "Howard, I love you." And Howard was somewhat dumbfounded. Then the story goes on the fact that he then called her a couple times, and then apologized to her. And apparently he's apologized on the air to her. And she has now said, this is the power of prayer, that she has prayed for Howard. And once again, Howard has come around and has now admitted that what he does was wrong. And he admitted that he was a terrible person to Kathie Lee. And he has repented and asked for her forgiveness, which she's granted. So, which I think is an interesting story.
It's a nice story. Yeah.
So I am going to forgive all the people that have effed me through the years, and I'm just going to say, yeah, I'm going to pray for you. Because you know what? I don't know if you know this or not. I am Reverend Brad. I have married people.
You do have an online degree.
Right, and I'm working on my new radio station, which is going to be, matter of fact, and one of the things we're going to promote is no video walls. No video walls. Do you know what that's about?
No, I don't.
You haven't been to some of these new churches, have you? The big thing is...
Oh, you mean you mean at a church? I thought you meant like a paywall or something to watch videos. Okay.
No.
You mean like if you go to a church and it's got a big projection, it's like a big Nickelback concert? Is that what you're talking about, those churches?
Well, they have the huge, monstrous video walls, and if you know what those video walls cost, let me put it to you this way. The churches are making some bucks because... in some churches, the video walls are more than the house you live in. That's how much expensive they are. Okay,
I can believe it.
Now, number one, Morgan Spurlock. Okay? Some people are going to say that what I'm going to say is a terrible thing to say, but I have had a problem with Morgan Spurlock for 20 years, not as long as the whole situation with Howard Stern and Kathie Lee Gifford. Morgan Spurlock is the guy who created this movie in 2004, 20 years ago, called Super Size Me, okay? And he did this and made a ton of money. I think the movie made like 22 or 23 million, and I think the production cost of the whole movie was like under $1 million, so they made a lot of money on that movie. He essentially promoted the fact that McDonald's is evil. And if you know the backstory of the movie, there was a time when you went to McDonald's, the people were coached to say, when you went up to the counter and when you went to the drive-thru and you ordered something, and it happened to me just the other day, but they would say, would you like to supersize that? Which means that you got the big fries and the big soda, okay? So what Morgan Spurlock did, he ate 3 meals a day for 30 days at McDonald's, and he gained like 30 pounds, okay? I guess the thing that ticked me off, that probably about a year or so after this movie came out, my one son came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, you know that guy you don't like?" And I go, "What are you talking about? That Morgan guy?" I don't know. You know, the Super Size Me guy. Yeah. Well, we had to watch his movie in health class. They played it in my son's health class. Now, here's my argument. I've done this twice. I did it with the kids menu challenge, and I did it with Fast Food Me, okay? I ate nothing. One time I ate for 45 days. I ate nothing but kids' meals at McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, you name it. I ate nothing but kids' meals. I lost 24 pounds. Then I did the fast food challenge where I went from fastfoodme.com. I went and ate nothing but fast food, and I lost, I think, close to 35 pounds. I say it again. How about if I came out with a movie called Whole Food Me? Whole Food Me. And every day I'm going to go for breakfast, I'm going to go out to Whole Foods. For lunch, I'm going to go to Whole Foods. For dinner, I'm going to go to Whole Foods. But I'm just going to stuff my face, which is exactly what Morgan Spurlock did. And I don't care if you're eating tofu. I don't care if you're eating kale.
Yes.
If you eat enough of it, you're going to gain weight. And once
it's calories in, calories out. You've talked about this on this show before, Brad.
Basic thermodynamics. Now, I know there's some people's bodies react differently, but once again, the situation is, if you look at these people who are in these terribly impoverished countries, you don't see anybody walking around with a beer gut. You don't see anybody, on as John say, on the obesity scooters. You don't see that because of the fact that it's basic thermodynamics. I always give the stupid example that the problem with us as humans is our fuel tank, aka our stomach, is not a fixed volume. If I go to the gas station and I fill up my tank and I top it off, which I shouldn't, but I do anyway, I top off my tank and I drive around the block and I try to put 5 more gallons in my fuel tank, it won't fit because the gas tank has a fixed volume, but your stomach does not. Your stomach expands and contracts. Yes. And if you just keep stuffing yourself with food, I don't care if it's Whole Food, if it's Mickey D's, if it's Little Debbie's. By the way, I'm a little upset with Little Debbie's over the weekend, but that's a whole other story. But once again, and this guy, oh my God, Morgan Spurlock, he showed how bad McDonald's is. Okay, can I tell you a real funny story that I've never told before?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I will not embarrass this person, but someone that I know, one day I was over at their house, and they said to me, hey, we've got a running joke about you, but you don't know about it. And I said, what's that? So this particular person goes in their kitchen and brings out a plate with a Little Debbie snack cake on it. And the person says to me, we've had this snack cake in our cupboard for 2 years now, and we just wanted to show you that you can't even eat this right now. So she hands me the plate, I grab the Little Debbie's, and I ate half of it. It was 2 years old. And there were like 5 or 6 people in the room with, oh my God! They're all cringing, and I'm just munching away my Little Debbie's. Tastes great. And they were all like...
Because of the preservatives, you think?
Yes. Matter of fact, I used to be in a leads group, like B&I. There was a lady in there, and you see this all the time. When the Juice Plus craze was huge, everybody was selling Juice Plus. Remember Juice Plus?
Oh, God, I do remember that.
Okay.
Yeah. Wasn't that an MLM thing?
Yes. And this lady would show up at our Juice Plus, or not at our meetings, and once again, well-meaning, I don't make fun of her. But one of the things she did, when her little bag of tricks, she brought out a hamburger that was from McDonald's. It was like, she says, and look at this hamburger. It's 1.5 years old. And I said to her, I'll be more than happy to eat that hamburger right now. And she goes, you would not. I go, I'll eat it right now. Hand it to me. Well, no, I can't give it to you because then I wouldn't have my prop. I go, I'll come over and eat the damn hamburger right now, and I won't die. And because of the fact that, once again, the thing is, if you have a car, and I'm going to give you a crazy analogy, and you paint it with the world's cheapest paint, it's going to rust out. 2 years, 3 years, going to be just nothing but rust. But if you preserve that car with the right paint and you preserve it properly, that car will last a lifetime. I make the same analogy with food. Why in the world would you go to the grocery store and buy stuff on a Monday that if you don't eat it by Thursday, you're going to throw it away? No, buy the stuff that if you buy in 2023, it's good in 2026. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
your body can process it just the same. By the way, this message is not brought to you by a Whole Foods tote bag.
Morgan Spurlock, I'm sad you died, but he died of cancer, and I will make my very nasty comment right now. Maybe if he would have eaten more fast food, he wouldn't have died at such a young age of 53. How about that?
Where you go. Yeah. Ticker symbol MCD, brought to you by not financial advice from Mike McGee, brought to you by Brad Hildebrand.
And MCD is McDonald's, right?
That's correct.
Okay, John, one day we're going to have fun with it. We're just going to say, John, what's the ticker symbol for Ameren? What's the ticker symbol for?
Yeah, which is AEE, by the way. It's Ameren. I'm a shareholder of Ameren. My trick with myself is of the summer, depending on the economic cycle, I like to own a little Ameren. Yeah. That way, every time I get my bill and I start to curse, I think, okay, I get a little bit of this back.
Yeah, right. Okay, we have to take a break.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?